I'm going to actually try and remember this Friday that it's Friday. Remember last Friday, I thought it was Tuesday. So I'm going to remember it's Friday for the whole 45 minutes that we're together. I'm going to at least try. So if I get my left and my right wrong, that's why, because I'm going to be remembering it's Friday. As always, you have total agency over our practice. So if something doesn't feel comfortable or safe, please know you can back out. Know that you never ever have to keep up. If you fall, like you don't like, if you fall behind, you fall behind. You'll catch up or you'll take a break. It's more about how we feel. So as we move together through the next 45-minute practice, we'll pause every now and then to check in with how we're doing. And hopefully when we check in with the how, it's also from a place of mindful self-compassion, a little more from curiosity. So we could practice, that it's not a right or wrong or a good or bad. It's like, ask yourself some questions. How do you feel? How's it going? Okay, so with all of that, maybe this is your first class, maybe this is your 50th class. We're all going to start the same shape or a similar shape, hopefully. If it works for you and you're comfortable, let's start on your backs with your knees bent. This is constructive rest pose. You can let your arms hang down on the floor. You could put your hands on your hips or your belly, whatever works for you. We won't be here super long. We're just going to start in this shape so that we can each find our own connection a little more inward into our bodies. This practice we call embodiment is this practice of coming inward and practicing feeling a little more from the inside out. And notice I said practice, so it's practice to be aware of what we're feeling. Remember, nobody hears your thoughts. So, if you're labeling what you're feeling, no one hears that but you. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone but you. So we'll take a moment to settle and feel the ground, to feel the earth. You might feel how the ground is so strong and so stable. And from that stability and strength of the ground, we can let go a little bit of that feeling of needing to hold ourselves up. Let gravity help you drop into the earth. This might help you feel a little more physically anchored or grounded. And drawing your awareness to your breathing. And practice following 2 breaths. And then bringing your awareness to grounding the physical body in relationship with your breathing. We'll practice and try to stay with 3 breaths. Noticing, feeling, saying hello to your next exhale, recognizing, hey, that's my exhale. And letting the exhale just happen very naturally. Try and empty the lungs, empty out. I'm going to shift gears to engaged breathing. So you might bring your hands to your lower abdominals down by your hips, navel area. And as we exhale, the abdominal muscles contract. That feels a little bit like a hug. Might feel your navel draw down and in. And when you inhale, your abdominal muscles eccentrically contract and they spread, they lengthen. And your navel floats up. And this is more muscular. So you don't have to add a squeeze. This just happens when you breathe. And we want to start to add some awareness of tone here. So as you exhale, that feeling of tone, and then when you inhale, eccentric contraction, long muscle tone. So there's still some movement in the abdominals, but maybe not as much as when we're relaxed. Let's try 2 or 3 breaths. And then when you take your next exhale again, check in with yourself. So here's one of those moments where we get to check in with curiosity and kindness. How are you feeling? How's this going? You need to adjust, move, do what you need to do. And then when you recognize, feel your next exhale, we're going to bring your right knee up over your right hip. Hold on to the back of the leg and just bend and straighten the leg about 3 times. Just getting a little more awareness into the back of the thigh bone, into the hamstring group there. And then when your leg is a little straighter than bent, pause and check in with the front of your hip. So if you wanted to even take, one set of fingers and put it there in your hip crease, check in with what's going on in that hip crease. If you bend your knee, you might feel a little less tension in the hip crease. So you want to put your knee shin at an angle where it doesn't feel super duper. I'll let you define what super duper tight is in your right hip, because we're going to hold that leg there for a little bit. Okay. Then we're going to put both hands back on your thigh bone. Okay. And imagine your thigh bone is like a rolling pin, and you're going to roll your thigh bone out. So your knee and your toe face out. And then you're going to roll your rolling pin thigh bone back. We're going to do this 2 more times. So you're externally rotating your leg, but not your pelvis. So define your pelvis, those hips, they don't move. Your low back doesn't move, just that thigh bone rolling in the socket. Then you're going to bring that right leg back and hold on to the leg. Okay, now grounding through the left side. So feel the left side of your body nice and heavy and strong. You're going to take your right leg out to the right and then swing your right leg back in. You can use your arms to help guide your leg. So if you're confused, I'm doing this one with you. You can always look. I'm going to do 3 of these. So the right leg goes out to the right. And then the third time, you're going to hold it out to the right. And you're just going to hold it there. And then feel the left side. Can you still feel your left foot, your left hip, your left shoulder really heavy? Now, if you answered yes, yeah, all that left stuff is heavy and grounded. roll your right leg away from you again. Like a rolling pin, roll your knee and toe out and in 3 times. And then after 3 times, when your knee and your toe are rolled out, external rotation, hold the leg there. And if you want more challenge, bring your arms down by your side. See if you can soften through your neck and shoulders. And then with an exhale, swing your right leg back up to that kind of starting place and then roll the leg back and then lower the right leg down to the floor. Pause, come back, check in with yourself. Notice, recognize, say hello to an exhale. And then bring your left knee up. Hold on to the back of the left leg, steady and strong through the right side of your body. Bend and straighten the left leg about 3 times. Just waking up your hamstrings, go at your own pace. And then when your left knee is just a little less than bent, okay? Left leg a little straighter than bent, I probably should say. Check in with your left hip. If you have to take, your fingers into the left hip crease, do that. Feel that left hip, not quite so tight. Find just the right shape and then roll your left knee and toe away and back in. It's like your thigh bone is a rolling pin. You're going to roll the rolling pin away and back. Then when it's in that external rotation, pause and roll it back. Then you take like half a V, right? So you want to stay as strong and anchored in the right side as you can as you guide your left leg out to the left and back in 3 times. The 3rd time, when it goes out, you're going to hold it. I'm going to take it out and then do that external and internal rotation. So feeling how the leg moves in the socket. What do you feel? You're going to feel something different than I feel, than anyone else feels. So you want to feel your own leg moving in the socket and then hold. Maybe your arms come down by your side, giving you an opportunity to just work a little more with the leg in the socket, abdominal strength, soft shoulders, soft throat, soft face, couple breaths. And then recognize, hey, there's my exhale. And with your next exhale, rotate back. And when you're ready, lower the left leg all the way down to the floor. We'll take 3 breaths. And then here again, recognize, notice your inhale. With your next exhale, we're going to roll over or roll up and come on up to sitting with your feet out in front of you. All right, so with your feet out in front of you, try and get your big toe to your pinky toe. So this transverse arch ball of the foot down on the floor. Okay. So we're going to try and just have a little extra grounding through the ball of the foot. And we want to feel the sit bones nice and heavy and the spine more just naturally lifting up. Okay. So we're going to put our hands to start on your shins and try to get your shins to push forward. Okay. So when we get really tight and we contract the hip flexors, these muscles here that come from your hip to your knee, they pull in like this and they pull us forward. So we're going to work on creating more space from the thigh bone to the rib here. Okay, so we're going to take your shins and the balls of your feet. Balls of the feet go down. Shins have this energy of going that way. And then you're going to tip your pelvis, tip back. And then using your core, pull yourself back up. Okay. Once you move your hands, you can move your hands as long as you can keep that understanding of the shin going forward like that and your toes staying really heavy. And we want to come back just enough that we feel some quiver. Okay, but not so much that it gets so bunched up here. It feels like a rubber band that might snap. So let's do 3 more. So hands could be here, hands could be here, right? If you want more challenge, hands can be, arms can be out in front. And you're moving at your own pace and rhythm, more for curiosity, trying to go back and come up from your core and not gripping quite as much in your hips. Then you're going to sit back and find just the right challenge where you have a little bit of quiver. You can still keep the balls of your feet really heavy and your shin energy going forward. Okay. Try and soften through the shoulders. Find your engaged breathing. And if you want more challenge, lift your arms. And then lower your arms. Let's exhale up and inhale down. 2 more. Watch the grip of the hip. So I'm starting to really grip in my hip, so I'm going to sit up a little bit. So noticing what you're feeling in your hip sockets in relationship to your core. And then arms can come up or arms could be out in front, arms could be down. 3 breaths. Engage breathing. So can you, as you breathe, still have a relationship to feeling that tone and strength in your abdominals? And then with an exhale, we're going to pull ourselves all the way on up. Great. So you could keep your feet like this, or you could come and cross your legs if you want. Just going to do a little bit of shoulder work. All right. So let's interlace your hands out in front. So try to keep your ribs. I'll go sideways so maybe you can see ribs down and back. And what we mean is when you take your arms up a little bit in front of your ears, try not to push the chest forward like this. So keeping this relationship of the ribs drawing down and in, engaged abdominals, and then maybe reach up and then lower your arms down. Change the interlace of the hands. 1 more time. Ribs draw down. Engaged abdominals. Take the arms up. And then let the arms come down. I'm going to swing the arms behind you now. So you might have your arms parallel. You might be grabbing your hands and interlacing. What works for you? Now, just taking the arms back for some of us causes the chest to pop forward. So again, this upper abdominal to rib connection, trying to keep ribs down and back, navel to spine, that connection, either parallel arms or hands interlaced. Same idea, try to take the arms back and up. And then lower the arms. If your hands are interlaced, switch. If your arms are parallel, we'll all do 1 more. Reach back. Try not to push your chest forward. And then lower down. Great. Swing your arms out and up. Bring your hands behind your head, elbows forward just a little bit. So we're going to twist. We're going to keep the navel facing forward. Sit bones anchored. Feel the left side of the rib cage come around to the right. Exhale to center. Inhale, right side of the ribs, spin around to the left. Exhale, center. Inhale, feel the left side of your rib cage. Left shoulder spins around to the right. Belly button facing forward, long spine. Exhale, center. Inhale, right ribs, right shoulder around to the left. Try to keep your spine nice and lifted. And then back to center. And then let the arms come down, hands rest either on your legs or on the floor. We'll come back for about 3 to 5 breaths. So you might be breathing a little bit quicker than when you were on your back. It's one of the benefits of yoga practice is the breath rate changes over the practice. Sometimes we breathe slow. Sometimes the body needs us to breathe fast. Breathe fast. So welcoming your awareness back to your breathing. When you get to an exhale, recognizing, hey, hello, exhale, and letting your eyes open. Sweet, let's come to tabletop. So we're gonna take about 30, 40 seconds here. You're gonna build your tabletop. And we're gonna, at the same time, wake up our hands and our wrists. Okay, so as you come to your table, feeling out your table. Remember, if you're at home, you can always do this on a real table or a chair. If you're here or at home and this hurts your wrists, you can make fists. And you can also come down on your forearms. Okay, so some ways we can wake up the wrists a little bit. We can walk the hands forward, the arms forward. We can go out wide. We can come in narrow. We can work with rotation. You can rotate the arm bones around and work with different rotations of the arms and the wrists. You can shift weight. You can come up on your finger pad tips. So I'm going to be quiet for about 10 seconds and let you work through your wrists. Work with the wrists connecting into the arms. Remember, your arms connect into your upper back. And then we're going to walk the arms and hands back under the shoulders. If your shoulders are tight, walk your arms in front of the shoulder a little bit. This will take a little bit different angle, might help your wrists out as well. All right, so you're in your nice, strong, neutral shape spine. So just check. Your ears are level, symmetrical with your shoulders. Shoulders nice and wide, nice wide back ribs, long spine, wide back hips. And press the mat into the floor and slide your shoulders forward. So you're going to slide your shoulders towards the front of your mat. And then you're going to push down and push your hip creases back towards your heels. I think we worked on this a little bit a couple classes ago. So when you come to your table, you're in this neutral shape and our spines have to move. If we go, just do a couple pretty slow, we might be able to recognize and feel when the spine starts to move and just give it a little resistance. So we're working still from the core. So as your hip creases draw back, your spine has to round in the low back a little bit, but we can resist that. And as you come forward, there's extension. We can feel that, work with it. And we resist it, but we resist it just enough that it builds an awareness of strength. And we're going to come right back to that table. And then from that table, your choice, you could stay here if you need a little break, press back to child's pose. If you want a little more, you're going to float your knees off of the floor to floating table. So you could be in your floating table. You could have your knees down and press back to child's pose. 5 breaths. With your next exhale, recognizing that's your exhale, come back to table. Sit all the way back. So bring your bum onto your heels. You can curl your toes if this works for you. If it doesn't, just find another shape and come up to sitting and just shake out your wrists. And then we're going to come forward back to a table, but we're going to come on your knuckles. So you're going to come really slow. You have to use quite a bit of strength here so you don't just fall on your knuckles. So keep some core connection and just shift the weight front and back. Woo, and stretch out the wrists a little bit. Go slow and strong. We'll do 3 of these. And then you'll build your table back, flip your palms so your palms come back onto the ground. Push your mat away, float your knees up and back and start to build your downward facing dog. So we'll give ourselves a few breaths. Knees can stay really bent in your dog. Let your head hang if that works for you. And then see if you can look back, see your shins. And you have a nice bend in your knee here. So it's like your shin is coming towards the floor, but your hip crease is going to press back. So press your hip crease to your outer hip way back. And let your shin have a little energetic connection with your mat. And then I'm going to be quiet so you can hear 2 breaths. You're in down dog. Next exhale, there's your exhale. With your inhale, just lift your chest, look in front of you a little bit, look towards the front of your hands. Then with your exhale, walk your feet up to your hands, take your time. Ground your feet. Lift your shoulders, look out. Maybe your fingertips stay on the floor. Maybe they come to your shins or your thighs. Rebuild your tabletop. We spent some time in tabletop. So feeling your body in space, taking those hip creases back, stacking your ears, your shoulders, engaged abdominal breathing. Then slide your hands into your hip creases and slowly press the ground away to come all the way on up to standing. Arms can hang down by your side, 3 breaths. So as you stand, see if you can stack your ears over your shoulders. So, right, sometimes we get our head out in front. So ears can come back over shoulders. Shoulders can stack over your pelvis. So if we bring our hands down, we can feel this pelvic bowl. It's going to become a little bit of a balance. We're going to anchor through that right side and lift the left knee out in front of you. You can keep your toes down on the floor if you need. Try to keep these 2 hip points more or less facing forward. Okay. We're going to work with rotation. So you're going to take your left leg and you're going to swing it open. And as it swings open, it's probably going to stop when it gets out to that side hip point. Then you're going to swing it back in front. This time, you're going to then do internal rotation and swing it back behind you. And then drive the knee back up. So you have to balance and then move that femur bone around in the socket. And then we'll rest. All right, shake it out. Let's go over to the left. So I'm going to anchor through the left side. Try to keep those 2 hip points facing a little more forward. Drive your right knee forward. You can lift it as high as works for you. Maybe that's down here. And then just 2 times. See how when you roll the leg out, you have that external rotation. It's going to stop in your hip. You want it to stop there. You don't want to force it. Then we have to internally rotate the leg in the socket to bring it around. And we get to drive it back up. One more time. And then we'll put that right leg down. Come back to that mountain meditation for 3 breaths. And then facing the front of your mat. Exhale, sweep your arms out nice and wide, lift up. Let's just take your hip creases. So feel the hip creases draw back, a little bit of like a high chair shape. And then inhale, see if you can feel the back ribs lift up a little bit. And exhale, reach and fold nice and strong and long all the way over. Wait for your inhale to lift your shoulders to look out in front of you. And when you feel your exhale, step back, downward facing dog. Just take 2 breaths. With your second exhale, come down to your knees. Good. Push the earth, push the floor away, bring your chest forward a little bit. And then you might stay right here. You might do one little tiny push up. So you might bend your elbows like an inch, or you might come all the way down to the floor. Exhale, push back up, back to tabletop. If your wrists are bugging you, go to child's pose. If your wrists are okay, your arms are okay, go back, downward facing dog. Bend your knees in your dog and try and pull those hip creases back. Get some length in your low back. And then we all come back to feel your breath. When you take your next exhale, we're going to start to walk your feet up to your hands. So if you're in child's pose, adjust, transition. Hands maybe stay on the floor, come to your shins or your thighs. Lift your chest, build that strong standing tabletop shape. Refine that kind of high chair feeling shape. Maybe your arms come up. And then exhale, push the floor down, push the earth away. Let your arms hang. 3 breaths in your standing mountain meditation. Grounding through your right side. Grounding through your left side, find those 2 hip points. One more time, bring your left knee forward a little bit and up. Swing it, external rotation. Now you're going to swing it all the way back and build warrior 1. So in warrior 1, your back heel comes down, okay? And your right leg lines up with your back left heel. So you want to have enough room that we don't feel any jamming in the SI joint here, okay, or in the low back. So if you need to walk your right leg out a little bit, you certainly can, okay? So hands can come to your hips. Your hips pelvis might be at an angle, and that's okay. We're not trying to square. We're not trying to swing the hip around and jam the low back, okay? So if your belly's at an angle, that's fine. So notice your belly button, and then notice your left side ribs. So you have your belly button and your left side ribs. So your left side ribs might come around and your pelvis might stay right where it is. So you're going to have a little thoracic rotation. Yeah, and then you might take your arms up. Up to you if you want to bend your knee a little more. 2 breaths. Okay, fine. Feel that back left leg. Lift that left back leg up. Good. Internally rotate it. So you're in a high lunge with your heel lifted. Good. Exhale, fold all the way over. Plant your left hand on the floor, right hand to the hip, and take a twist. So lunge twist. You can put your left knee down or have your left leg up. 2 breaths. Exhale, reach your right arm really long back down to the floor. Step your right leg back to plank. Either hold straight arm plank or come down to your knees. Good. Pull your chest forward and up, your version of upward facing dog. Curl your toes, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Exhale, walk your feet up to your hands. Press down, exhale, come all the way on up. Arms come down by your side. 3 breaths in your standing mountain meditation. Hands can come to your hips. Grounding through the right side, right knee comes up. Externally rotate. Internally rotate. Step your right leg all the way back. Put that foot down. Line up your heels. So left front heel, right heel. Find your pelvis. It's okay if it's at an angle. Check your low back. Then your right rib cage might swing around. Your left rib cage might draw back a little bit. So your ribs work independently from your pelvis. Warrior 1. Arms can come up. 2 breaths. Feel that back right thigh bone. Lift your right back heel up. Internally rotate that leg. High lunge. You got to exhale, fold all the way over, plant your right hand down by your big toe. Lunge twist, look over to the left. You can always put your right knee down. 1 more breath. Exhale, reach that left arm really long and strong all the way back down. Slide your left leg back, straight arm plank or tabletop. Pull your chest forward and up, upward facing dog. Push the earth away and slide your sternum up. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Exhale, come all the way back down to your tabletop. And when you get to your tabletop, 3 cat-cows. So we'll just move through your spine. You might imagine you're trying to move some water from the back of your skull down into your tailbone. You're moving water from your forehead down your nose, through your chin, into your pubic bone. And then we come back to table. Great. And then straighten the legs. See if you can hold plank for just a couple breaths. Great. And then lower all the way down onto your belly. Hands are going to come underneath your forehead. Soften your chest. Lengthen your legs. So legs like railroad tracks. Try and get your legs long and parallel. Soften through the shoulders. Scoop your belly, so navel to spine, long, low back, and then push your pubic bone into the floor. See if you can feel that pubic bone going down to the floor. And then we're going to lift both legs up and down. So just lifting the legs from the back of the legs, the hamstrings long and engaged as you lift and lower the legs 2 more times. And let the legs come down. Press into the earth. So you're going to press your forearms down, lift your chest. Lift your legs. Exhale down. Inhale, ground lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. And just go with your breath. 3, 4, 5 more. Go a little quicker. You can go a little slower. Go by your breath. What's your breath doing? You're moving from the breath. And hold. Chest up. Legs up. And then lower down. And let everything rest for about 3, 4, 5 breaths. And then coming back, maybe you can feel your heartbeat here. You can feel your breathing. We're just going to roll onto your back and take a full body stretch. So rolling onto your back. Can do a nice full long body stretch, reconnecting to the ground. And then with your exhale, draw your knees into your chest, round up, grab your shins, do a little ball roll up. You might even roll all the way on up to sitting. You might roll all the way back down and do a full body stretch. So I'm just gonna stretch and then draw your knees into your chest. You might just roll up a little bit. You might roll all the way on up. We're gonna do 2 more. Kind of feeling out your spine with your breathing. And then you decide, maybe you want to take the last couple minutes of practice on your back, resting, stretching. As you check in with yourself, maybe you want to spend the last couple minutes of class seated. So you might roll up and come to a seated shape, more like seated meditation. You might end up on your back, more like Shavasana. So finding either more of that Shavasana shape or that seated meditation shape. Giving yourself an opportunity, again, from a place of curiosity and mindful self-compassion to come back to your body breathing. Another opportunity to come and check in with yourself. You always take the last couple minutes for self-care. So as you come in and check in, how can you spend a few minutes really just nurturing, taking care of yourself? You feel like meditating or stretching, resting, daydreaming. Take the next few moments in silence. Just recognizing and noticing your present time experience, noticing what you're noticing. And then back to your breath, 2 breaths. And when you recognize that second exhale, you could say hello to your exhale. Maybe you're on your back and you like a full body stretch. Maybe you'd like to draw your knees into your chest, giving your body an opportunity to move for you. And the next couple breaths, we'll slowly all make our way on up to sitting. And then when we get up, let's interlace your hands one more time and just do kind of an upper body, nice anchored through the sit bone, lift up, stretch. And the arms come down. Fabulous. It's Friday. Happy Friday. Thanks, everybody.